Hey guys, today we are going to be talking about how to detox your life. This is episode 1 of our 10 episode series, so let's get into it.
Welcome to Renewed Hope Women's Wellness. I'm Happy Sperling, wife, mom of 7, board certified holistic health practitioner, and owner of Renewed Hope Nutrition Center. After years of searching for the answers to my own health issues, I grew tired of always being told there was nothing wrong when I knew something wasn't right. If you're searching for answers too, this is the place for you. Whether you're a college student, mom, businesswoman, going through menopause, or anything in between, I'm here to empower you and teach you how to become your own health advocate. I'm here to renew your hope and let you know you are not alone. So let's start this journey together. I really wanted to start this series so that we could understand how important it is to eliminate as many toxins in our life that we can, especially as women, because a lot of these toxins disrupt hormones. And so we find ourselves in a hormone crisis as women, unlike anything that we've ever known about. And it's a little overwhelming, or it's a lot overwhelming, I guess, to say, well, there's toxins everywhere and pollution in our air, like the frequency from our phones, like all these different things. And it's very overwhelming, or it can be. And so I wanted to do this series just so that we could kind of target the main things that we can detox from our life and take them down one at a time and give you some practical things that you could do to actually not feel overwhelmed and know that you are making a huge difference in your life. Because so many times in practice, there are clients that are doing all the right things. They're eating well, they're taking supplementation, they're exercising, and yet their health issues are still the same. And it's very discouraging for them to do all that work and not have results from it.
Right. And I think it's very important to realize that you can't just check out when it comes to things like this. We are surrounded by chemicals, and sometimes you can just be like, oh, it doesn't matter, this is the cheaper one, this is the one that's on sale, I'm going to buy this soap, even though it's full of dyes and everything else that's just totally toxic, which doesn't rinse off, by the way, it's still on your dishes. I just think it's important for us to just not get overwhelmed, but to just take one thing at a time and realize that we really need to just limit these things. I love Febreze, I love the way it smells. I make it rain in my living room every day with it. So, something I'm going to have to switch up. I guess I'll switch to essential oils, but,
yes, that's a good choice.
I've used Febreze as a cologne at one point, so. But anyways, yes, this is going to be a basic intro into how you can limit the chemicals in your life.
Yeah, and I think we have to start bringing this down to the reality of what can we do about it, because I think there is this mentality right now that everything we do seems to be condemned. It's like, well, I might try to eat well, but there's chemicals on my food. I might try to get fresh air. Well, there's chemicals in the air. And I think I hear it all the time from clients. It's like, well, one, I'm overwhelmed because no matter what I do, it doesn't seem like I'm ever going to get ahead of all of this. But I think that is an attitude that we have to be very careful about, because if we don't step back and say, look, there are things that are in our control. Yes, there's tons of things that aren't in our control, but we do have the ability to make some changes that may seem very small that can make a huge difference. And yes, people say sometimes, well, our bodies are used to dealing with toxins. Toxins are everywhere. We don't even really need to detox. And that has been interesting to hear different thoughts on that some people just say detoxing is just trending, that there's no real need for that, it doesn't work. And of course we know how unbased that is, but you do kind of come against that sometimes. And the reason that toxins matter is that they affect our cells. So let's say someone's dealing with a thyroid condition, and maybe they've dealt with it for years, and they think that the problem is their thyroid. Right. But they may do the medication, they may do even diet and exercise and all the things that they're supposed to do, and they're still suffering with thyroid symptoms. And that's where this all comes in, is that you've got to empty the toxin bucket. It's just a good analogy that we all have a bucket in our system that is basically being given one drop at a time of whatever, whether it's toxins from environmental things or food or medications. And everyone has a certain level before that spills out into the system. But when it does, when the toxin is the last drop in the bucket, then you have a system that completely goes awry, and you get all these diagnoses, autoimmune disease, weight loss resistance, like things that don't make any sense. And it's because we are toxic, and we have to help our body be able to, one, limit what's coming in, and two, try to clean up that mess that's in there. So
yeah,
I feel like detox is trending, and we have to be careful that we don't get so inundated with, oh, detox this or cleanse this. You have to be careful how you approach that, because if you truly detox something, then it moves it out of an area in the body that it was perhaps stored in a cell, and it basically localizes it into general areas, and then we detox. And if it's not done well, you just recirculate that back through the system. There has to be ways to remove the source so that you can regenerate the cell. And honestly, I don't think that there's anything that will be 100% effective until people literally heal their cells. And we have to start with what's damaging them, which is toxins.
Right. And just to clarify for the simple-minded like me, by detoxing, we're not talking about, going and getting some green juice and sitting on a prayer pillow. Like, even those things, I mean, they may seem very eye-catching on Instagram, but this is a deeper level. And we're not saying because you use Clorox on your toilet, it's the reason you have thyroid issues. Right. Because I can't...
But it could be a part of it.
Exactly. I can't exactly blame the Comet I use on my shower wall for my acne, but all of these things combined. So if you're using like really toxic, heavy duty chemicals, you're spraying it in the air, like there's a lot of them. Maybe you have like 8 or 9 household items, like you're using really cheap laundry detergent and fabric softener with a bunch of chemicals, like those things combined. You don't have to limit everything, but maybe just like cut out half of it. That would just give your body a break. And allow your body to detox on its own.
Yeah, and when you think about our modern day environment, it's not a mystery why so many people are struggling with health issues. But the fact that women tend to struggle the most is unique in that our hormones are very different than the makeup of male hormones. They're both very important, and make no mistake, these things disrupt hormones in men and women, even causing fertility issues. The research around some of these chemicals and what they do to the ovaries and to testicles and sperm production, it should be concerning, but we just don't know about it to be concerned. And I think, the way that we think about chemicals as well, a little bit won't hurt you. But that's the whole conversation, is a little of anything combined with a little of something else is going to add up to be a lot. 2 + 2 is still 4. And if I have a little bit from here and a little bit from that, and I can get rid of half of that load, then like you said, we've at least gotten somewhere. We may be 2 steps ahead instead of 1 step back when we don't remove everything, but it's better than where we were before. 100% people cannot overcome major health issues until they deal with the toxin load in their life. I was researching recently that since World War II, there have been 80,000 new chemicals created. Just think about that. Since World War II, with 1,500 new chemicals per year being introduced. So we're facing something that it's exponentially different than what we faced or people faced 100 years ago. And you're facing it on all different levels. And they do test, they're very insufficient tests, but 10 of those chemicals will be tested for their neurotoxic effect out of the 1,500 typically. So they kind of pull that together and say, well, let's see what this does. But 9 of them will be tested to see how they react with the other chemicals that are in that product.
Okay.
So the synergistic effect of that one chemical profile may actually say, well, this won't kill you immediately. So that's pretty much
Yeah, you've got time. You may have a tumor 20 years down the road, but, you can't blame that on us.
But your clothes are going to smell good. You're going to smell really nice, But Because most cleaning chemicals are protected by trade secrets, meaning the companies do not have to disclose the product's ingredients. And to me, that's criminal, but that they can actually include ingredients that are proven to cause cancer and neurotoxicity with no ramifications because there's no regulations on that. And yet we're putting it on the one organ or breathing it through our lungs, which is the fastest way to get anything into the system. And so I think we have to deal with the how we can detoxify our life and different things that we can do so that we're not dealing with chemicals on a downstream level. You know, the analogy, and I've used that before, where you might have a piece of property that you've bought and you notice that the stream is toxic, it's stagnant, there's no life in it, and you may begin to really start to clean that up and get it looking pretty good. But then you notice that, you know, a neighbor comes by and says a few miles up the road there's a toxic chemical company they're putting chemicals in the stream every day. So the work you're doing down here might have a little effect, but unless you go to the headwaters of that and you deal with it from there, that's what we do now. That's the conventional model, is we clean up the mess beneath the waterfall, but we can't ever stop what's actually the root of it, what's happening from the top. And that's where detoxifying your life can help you to become well when you've done everything else, or maybe you haven't done any of it and this is new. I mean, that's wonderful because then you have somewhere to go with it all.
Exactly. And this is not borderline tinfoil hat here. This is like real information. You can find it yourself. Like, these are real things, you know. And I will say that, I mean, I'm thinking right now, I probably use up to 25 different chemicals between 7 and 9 a.m. in the morning. Like, I've got my, you know, really nice beauty products, and some of them are clean, some of them aren't. Some of them I just really like. And, you know, I wash my hands with, you know, soap that's not exactly organic, and I use coffee filters, the cheapest that I can find. And I know, like, none of us are rich, you know, like we can't afford, you know, to shop at Erewhon or, you know, go to Whole Foods and, you know, make sure that everything is just, you know.
And I think that's what discourages some people, is they're like, well, maybe I can only afford these products. But to me, I've found the good news about that is that there are homemade products that literally only take 5 minutes of your time. Caitlin at our house and Rissy and Jaden, they keep us up on our laundry detergent. And basically, you know, we're mixing salt and some washing soda. It's like 4 ingredients, and literally putting it in mason jars, use like 2 tablespoons per load. It literally eliminated formaldehyde, ethylbenzene, petroleum, chlorine, benzene, butyl-psilosive, and phenol, which all of those are chemicals that are in a typical everyday laundry detergent. And you think, well, you know, yeah, but we can handle benzene. Like, if we just pick out one of those compounds. But if you understand that how benzene works is that it actually causes your cells to not work properly. So the CDC, if you pull up benzene basics on the cdc.gov, so no tinfoil hat here, this is full disclosure from the CDC, is that people who breathe in high levels of benzene may develop the following signs and symptoms within minutes to several hours, or if it's a major exposure on your skin. So you're talking about headaches. It's amazing how many people have migraine headaches, but when you start trying to clean up their life, you realize that they have so many chemicals coming in. And when you can remove those toxins, most of the time the migraines go away. And so that's just seeing it on a real working level of how it can affect you. Benzene is also linked to anemia because it changes how your red blood cells, it decreases how many you produce, which are what indirectly cause you to be able to store iron. And it can also damage the immune system by changing blood levels of antibodies and causing the loss of white blood cell counts, which affects your immune system. Wow. But I think the seriousness of benzene is that it can actually, what we're talking about here is that it can change your bone marrow. And it's like amazing to me that as humans, we survive all of this. And it's beautiful that God made us so resiliently. But our bodies are facing things they never have before. And if we just stick our head in the sand and go, well, I'm still going to use my Tide, I'm still going to use my fabric softener, then you're probably going to end up having a toxic load one day that may end up causing other issues. Maybe not. If you have great methylation pathways and you don't have any gene SNPs and your liver works like 100%, you can encounter these things longer than most people without them causing issues. But
yeah, you may experience mild side effects or things you don't even notice when you're using these household cleaners. And if you're using a lot of them, as a previous house cleaner, I remember using up to 30 different chemicals in a day. And then having constant headaches and not even thinking about why. And then just feeling like when I would go into a bathroom and clean with bleach or products and just, wheezing and not even just I got tired or whatever. But then taking a break from cleaning and realizing that, my breathing is better. I don't have headaches anymore. It's I was just ignoring that at the time, but it really was a real thing,
Well, and you think, because you were doing cleaning professionally, how much exposure you were getting over a normal person. But our clothes, like your laundry detergent, one of the most toxic things that we can use. What do you do with your clothes? Hopefully we're wearing them unless we're in some other kind of colony or something, but we're wearing those all day long. Then we're sleeping on our sheets that are bathed in that stuff. So our bodies really aren't getting a tiny amount. They're getting chronic exposure. So the laundry soap, I'll link that in the notes. That's so simple to make.
Yeah, you can find your inner Amish, get out there,
make and some honestly, of it. If you meal prep and if you're like, I don't even have time to do the laundry, let alone make my laundry soap. At some point, we have to choose our hard. Choose what's hard. Is it really that hard to take 10 minutes out of your, maybe every 2 weeks? We make enough to last us about 3 weeks. So literally 4 things, mix them together, and you're done. But you start making these proactive movements to make a difference because, and I say this a lot on the podcast, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. So we have to start somewhere. And laundry detergent is something that we're all encountering day and night. And even fabric softener, which honestly is even worse.
Yeah, I completely deleted that from my life.
Yeah.
Because, my husband and I both were breaking out in rashes every night because of the sheets covered in fabric softener.
Which smell really nice, but it's get, some wool, a wool, can I talk? A wool, I can't even do it. Wool? A wool dryer ball. That just sounds weird saying it. Just get the dryer balls and literally throw them in. They will soften your clothes naturally.
You can use essential oils, can't you?
Yeah, and I feel like I've put essential oils in the laundry detergent, but I feel like I just wasted a lot of money because it really doesn't hold. But if you put it on the dryer balls, that I couldn't say what they were made out of a second ago, they actually do scent the laundry. So I use lavender.
Peppermint is my favorite.
Peppermint is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's pretty.
Or sometimes I'll take a sock and just wrap it up in itself, an old sock, and then just put essential oil inside of it. Kind of just
throw it in the dryer.
It makes the whole dryer smell good. It's not killing you.
No, and if you get any peppermint oil residual from it, it's calming to the nervous system.
Keeps the spiders out of your socks.
It's definitely, and I do love peppermint. Lemon essential oil. So I think, what we always try to do is that when you guys listen to our podcast, we want you to leave knowing that, this isn't good. There's a problem here. But what can you do about it? And to give practical things that help you be your own health advocate. So I got rid of cleaners a long time ago for household cleaners. I do use a small amount of alcohol if I'm wanting a disinfectant, and I mix it in a solution of water and some essential oil.
And vinegar is good if you don't mind the vinegar smell.
Yeah.
It's great if you have mold or mildew around the toilets maybe, but I think that's the best way to approach it. And if you don't feel like finding your inner Amish and making all these products, there's 7th generation, there's some other good brands, there's some cleaner laundry detergents that have less chemicals that are sensitive skin, they're really good for that. But anyways,
and that's a good point too. There are a lot of products. I'm a little too cheap for that because
no one can afford them. $8 for
But I do at the office. We use 7th generation spray cleaner. I don't think it's perfect, but it's way better than the other. Just because I'm not at home making all that stuff for here too. We've got a big life, so I'm you're kind of on your own. We're going to clean it with the best that we can. But just having options, and there's a lot of options options online, but like furniture polish, it's alarming what is in furniture polish. But you can use some olive oil with a little bit of squeezed lemon juice and shake that up in a glass jar and just put it in one of your spray bottles that you've repurposed after. You can get those little water bottles or whatever that you can put it in.
$1 a piece.
Even the little glass colored ones, and they work great, and you can just keep reusing them forever. But I think just doing something, and that's been my mantra really, is to say no matter what's going on with your health, don't do nothing. So if you really want to say, I've got these issues and I don't know what happened to my thyroid. The thyroid situation right now is, it is absolutely explosive how many people are getting thyroid problems younger and younger. And we're dealing with it in the office on a daily basis, multiple times a day. And it's because the thyroid is exceptionally sensitive to chemicals. And I think it's a combination of everything we're encountering. But what we want to do is how to fix my thyroid symptoms, how to help with that. And that needs to be done. But a bigger question is why? Why is this happening? And what can I do to prevent it from happening to me? Or if I'm already in that situation, there are literally things you can do as far as testing that can be done to see if you have methylation issues with your genes that would cause you to encounter chemicals and not be able to get rid of them, which makes you more likely to have autoimmune conditions. And so this is part of the digging deeper work that needs to be done, where we are presented with a diagnosis and the symptoms from that, and we say, okay, I've heard that, I've seen that, and now I need to go find out why.
Yeah.
And you have to start with the toxic load that you have in your life. And I think that's one of the hardest things, is that we're so conditioned that there's something wrong, there's something that I can take that's going to fix my problem. Well, that's kind of like standing in one spot and telling somebody to pour a bucket of water over your head, but don't let your feet get wet. It's like you're going to be affected by those things. And if you have a condition, any condition, I'm talking high blood pressure to thyroid to weight loss resistance, especially hormone issues. If you have an issue like that, you're going to have to address it from the ground up. Yeah. Because if you don't, you'll probably find yourself most of your life trying to get ahead of something that's going to outrun you eventually.
Yeah.
So this was the first one, the household cleaners. We're going to actually do one that will have to do with water and air quality and mold and heavy metals and all kinds of things coming up. And then we're actually going to end with frequency and EMFs and how we can start to be proactive to limit our exposure as much as possible without going to live off grid somewhere that maybe not even exists anymore.
But yeah, so it's time to minimalize.
Thank you so much for listening. If this podcast inspired you or encouraged you in some way, please leave us a review or share this episode with a friend. If you need help connecting the dots of your own health journey, I would love to help you with that. You can reach me via the link below to set up a one-on-one consultation. You can also connect with us by joining our free Facebook community, which is linked below, or at healthywithhappysperling.com. Until next time.